Yo, today I want to show you my low budget DIT workflow. A lot of software out there can be expensive, and when we're working on student sets mostly like I am, we need a cheaper way to make sure our files stay safe. Recently I used this workflow on a short film that was shot over 6 days, shooting over 6 terabytes of footage in over 30 cards, and it held up great. I'm making this video because it is pretty hard to find good information out there about data wrangling, and that's a shame because it is a super important job on set, because if it's not going well, then you don't have a film at all. So let's get into it. So first I'm going to talk about the different software I use. So at the heart of this workflow is DaVinci Resolve and its clone tool. If you don't know how to get to the clone tool, you can go down to the Media tab in DaVinci and open up Clone Tool up here. It's super simple software. You just drag your source folder and drop a destination folder or multiple folders and hit clone. This is a bit better than just dragging over in the file manager and copying that way, because this actually does do checksum verifications. So it does take a bit longer than doing it in a regular file manager, but it's a bit safer. One of my favorite softwares that I found when searching around was this free software called Parachute. It just lives up here in the menu bar. It's a great triple check when you're about to eject a card that you believe that you have copied over properly. If I open up the settings, you can eject cards here and set different destination folders here. And when you want to eject a card, you can come up here and eject from here instead of the file manager, and it'll check that everything on that card has been copied over to the specified destinations. And if it is, then it'll give you a good verification and format the card. And the way it formats cards is in a systematic way where it just flips all the ones to zeros and zeros to ones. So even after you formatted using that, it can be reverted easily just by plugging the card back in. This next software I don't use as much, but if I had any worries during my copying, this could be a good way to double check. It's called Pomfort Seal Verify. You basically just take the checksum file that DaVinci produces when copying using the clone tool and set the destination folder, and it'll use the checksum file to double check that everything was copied properly. And finally, there is Disk Drill. This is the emergency software that you hope you never have to use. This is if you formatted a card but realize that you need to recover the files. This is a free software to allow you to try and recover any lost files. I haven't had to use it, but I did test it out and it worked just great. So next I'll show you how I set up this little DIT desk to make sure everything stays physically organized when I'm working. So this is the desk setup. It's pretty simple. How I have things set up is cards go from left to right. So a card will start on the left side when it's full, start getting ingested here in the middle, and then when it is done, it goes on the right side when it is ready to be formatted in the camera and shot on again. To minimize any confusion, I make sure to have super clear labels on each side. With these small cards, it's really easy for them to get shifted around, and there's no way to tell what's on them just by looking at them. So it's super important to have clear labels everywhere and just have something consistent and logical. This CalDigit TS4 is really great. It allows you to hook up all your drives and readers. It has tons of connectivity, and you can just run one cable into the computer to connect everything. It's definitely not needed, but if you're copying to multiple drives at a time or have a computer that only has a couple USB-C ports, then it can be really helpful and speed up the copying. Here I have hooked up a card reader, and in a real world scenario I would also have SSDs hooked up to this thing to copy to, but today I'm just going to copy onto the SSD on the laptop. Here is the MacBook Pro. This one's great because I do have 3 Thunderbolt ports, which are really fast. And on this side there's nothing. I just have my label, and I make sure that this stays very clear, only allowing cards that are ready on this side. So let's pretend that I just got brought this first card, and we're going to go ahead and ingest it into our SSD. So I care a lot about these labels. I want them to live with the card along its whole journey across the table. So when I insert the card, I'm going to go ahead and put the label onto the reader. This is just another check to make sure that I know which card is in the reader at the moment. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into DaVinci and set up the clone tool. So for the source folder, I always use the entire card. So I just drag over this whole card into the source, and in my destination, I'm going to first make a new folder. So this is an example of what a project folder might look like. So we're shooting day 1, we have video files, and we're going to go ahead and add this card as A001 as it was labeled. Then I can go back into Resolve, find that A001 folder, and drop it into the destination. Now, if I had other SSDs to copy, I could also add them as well, but we can just select that job and hit clone. And it's going to take a little bit longer than it would just dragging it over in the file manager, but that's because it's doing checksum verification at the same time. One thing to note about the clone tool in Resolve is that once you start a job, you can't start a different job afterwards. So if you're trying to copy multiple cards at the same time, you would have to set it up all at once and hit start, and then you would have to wait till both those cards are finished to start anything else. Now, while this card is being set up, we can go ahead and set up our parachute destinations. So to do that, we're just gonna go into parachute, get into the settings, and we can go ahead and add our destinations. So you have to have at least one, and we're going to add and find our project folder. And you can just hit the whole project folder and hit open. If you're copying to multiple drives, again, you would set multiple destinations. And now that we have a card in, you can see that there is a card. Cool, so now that this card is complete, we can go ahead and drag it down into our actual media pool. And for this, I'll just name it the card number. And there we go, we have our 3 clips that I put on this card. Now, in case I wasn't seeing something or saw anything suspicious here, I'll go ahead and show you how to use the POM4 Seal Verify to check this. So for that, I'm just going to come down and choose the folder, and you'll just go into your SSD and choose the cards folder here and hit open and start verification. Now this takes a little while, which is why I don't do it for every card, only for things where I might have seen an issue with the copy. So now that this is just about done in 2 minutes, I forget exactly why, but there's always going to be this one file that can't be checked. But if you just see this file, then it means that you are good to go. If there's any other issues, then you'll see it here, and you can go ahead and check those files manually. But yeah, this lets me know that the copy went well, and if I want to, I can go ahead and just save that report into the cards folder, and it looks something like this if that's something you care about. Cool, so now that we know that that file was good to go, we can go ahead and format and eject the card. And to do that, we're just going to go up here into parachute, and we can actually see the card right here. But before that, let's just double check that we have the correct destination set. So we have it set to our projects folder, which is good, and you can see the card right here. So if you want, you can do it there, but most of the time I'll just come up here and hit erase untitled. And as you can see, it checks that everything from that card has been backed up to our project folder in one place or another, and we can go ahead and erase. And the card goes away. So now that this card is good to go, I'm going to put it here in this middle section and make sure it has a new label before getting put on the ready side. So here I have a fresh label for the card, and now it's good to go ahead and be put on the ready side and ready to be taken to the camera and be formatted again. And with this label, you can go ahead and get rid of it or start collecting them so you can see all the progress that you've made. So now I'll just show you one more time with this next card how a normal thing would go without the POM4 Seal Verify, and just show how efficient this process is. So we're gonna take our card, throw the label on the reader, and then throw the card into the reader. I'm gonna go ahead and make a new folder within our project. And we're gonna add a new job, dragging in our source folder, which is the actual card. And then I can go ahead and also add in the destination folder from my SSD. Once that's ready, just go ahead and hit clone. And while that clone is happening, I can make a new bin here Cool, and now that the clone is done, I can go ahead and hop in here and I see all my video files, and I can just drag it into my media bins, and I see all the files that I had on here. And since that all looks good, I can go ahead and come up to Parachute. I already have my destination set, so I can just hit erase here. Everything looks good on the SSD, everything's copied, and I can hit erase. And now I can go ahead and take out the card, put it in the middle, take my label, collect it for later, and add in a new label for this card. Got a fresh label for the card, and can go ahead and put on ready. And now both of these cards are good to be formatted in the camera and shoot the next scene.